Okay, we're live. Mariah Michaelis here.
Savannah Steig.
Courtney Hall Blythe here.
Rich Bunit's here.
Is that everybody?
What was that?
Sorry, my daughter pushed a little button on my phone.
That's cute. Okay, well, Hannah's here too, but she's having problems with the internet. Okay, Savannah, it's all you, girl.
Okay, just see how this goes. So, I did my topic on child abuse because I've been doing that all throughout the semester with my papers. And I want to start off with a few stories I found. The first one is about a little girl named Alice. So when she was 6 years old, she was sexually abused by a family friend. She stayed silent and didn't tell her family until like a whole 10 years later. And during this time, she suffered isolation, she had night terrors, she had depression, and she was ordered to self-harming to handle her emotions. After about 10 years, she finally had the courage to tell her family, and then they began the legal process with everything. But that obviously wasn't quick enough to get her out of those 10 years of self-harming and everything, which is terrible. Another story is about young Sophie. She grew up in a home where both of her parents used drugs. Because of this, she was often neglected, and she was left alone at home. And I know the story said that she would often have to answer doors to strange people coming in and out of the house, and she was just so young. And one day her mother was arrested while she was at school, and she came home and the house was boarded up. Nobody was there, and eventually her dad came home drunk, and they both locked out. As she got older, she felt guilty and thought that was her fault for how her parents ended up, and she also worried that she turned like her mother. These are just two examples out of millions of cases that occur each year. In the United States, there are 2.9 million reported cases of child abuse every year. That's 2.9 million children who are abused and neglected physically, mentally, and sexually. 1 in 10 children suffer from maltreatment of some form. These are real statistics, and they're occurring in homes all around us. However, child abuse is a cause that our country, we fortunately have already begun to decrease in. So, like in 1990, the number of cases in the United States was 860,000, or it's the serious cases, and this has decreased to 753 cases in 2010. So it's been going down and increasingly less and less each year. And I'll talk more about the regulations that have helped in this a little bit later. Abuse is not limited to physical acts of harm. It can also be harming children with words or neglect. And verbal abuse is probably the easiest type for a parent to slip into doing. It begins with harmless things like yelling at them, and it turns into belittling children for not living up to their expectations, like young children who really should not be belittled for not doing something right because they're young. It only disturbs children in their present, not only disturbs in their present day, but it affects them for the rest of their lives. So it was found that a history of any form of abuse was associated with increased rates of psychopathology, sexual difficulties, and decreased self-esteem, physical abuse, and marital breakdown later on in their lives. So this abuse follows them throughout their entire lifetime, and it can even increase the risk of them being abusers themselves later on in life. One law that's been implemented for years now, but we still use it all the time to help increase the risk of child abuse, is the mandatory reporting law. You've probably heard about it. It varies by the state, but every state has some form of this law. Many states say that any person at all who suspects abuse has to report it. But there's also states that say that only people who work directly with children, that's professionals, have to report it. So I know that where I came from in Oregon, the mandatory reporters, I believe, were just people who were working directly with children. And so as my job was, when I worked in preschools and stuff, it was a huge part of our job. If we saw abuse, it was on us completely to report it. We had to tell our boss, we had to report it, and I've actually had to go through the process before. Unfortunately, mandatory reporters can be doctors, nurses, social workers, school officials, daycare workers, and law enforcement personnel. A failure to report the abuse that is known can result in jail fines or jail in time and fines, or both. So it's pretty serious if you know about it and you don't report it. I know my mother, she was a daycare worker for many years in her home, and she had, I think, 3 or 4 different times when she had to report, and she never ended up knowing what happened to the child, but she did what she could. So this is a great thing to help kind of catch child abuse. It doesn't prevent it from happening. So there's still more that we can do to prevent child abuse. It's the least common in traditional families with mom and dad both at home. So our focus needs to be in families that aren't as traditional, like families with single-parent homes or mixed families. I know that I read a statistic somewhere that said that in families where the mother is a single mother and she has a boyfriend living in the home, that's, I think, the highest risk for child abuse to happen, because usually it's the boyfriend who abuses the child, because he's not as patient, he's more of an internet kind of person. So sadly, children are being abused by people who aren't even their family, and it gets messy. And so we need to have support to single mothers to help keep the stress and anxiety levels down, because I mean, even though abuse is a terrible thing, people have to get to a certain point before they start abusing, and the best thing to do is prevent that certain point from happening. The parents should be aware of extended family members or friends who could potentially abuse their child. They should have an awareness of the signs of abuse. Many children, especially young ones, are not able to verbalize that they have been abused and will keep quiet, and older children may feel guilty and will keep quiet, or they can be talked into staying quiet about it. So it's up to us as adults to keep an eye out for that. Because as in our profession, many of us will be mandatory reporters in every state. So we need to recognize these things ourselves and be aware of them, and we have to be willing to step up if we see these. And it's a scary process. Child abuse affects not just the child, but it affects everyone in contact with them. Child abuse, it goes without being noticed and helped to grow up into an adult who abuses themselves or suffers from various mental and physical problems. It extends through all the systems, like the dynamic systems, touching lives in each system. It's something that we can help us professionals working with children by spreading awareness, being observant, and when necessary, reporting. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, what made you choose child abuse? Why did you choose child abuse? What triggered your interest in that?
Well, I've worked with children for many years. I've taught preschool for about 7 years now in various settings, and it's just it's a scary thing that it's always just kind of been there that like you have to keep your eye out for. And there's been moments where I've been worried, like, oh no, I see like bruises on this child's arm or something, or this child is wearing long sleeves in 80-degree weather. I wonder if their parents are trying to hide something. And I've kind of trained my mind to look for these signs. And so I felt like it was good to research more about it, to kind of gain an awareness for myself, more about the topic. So that's why I chose it.
Thank you.
Have you ever had to report anyone on
I had to
abuse?
report to my boss once in the preschool, a child, and I know that I was pretty sure that something was going on in their home, and unfortunately I had to move away back to college before I saw what ended up happening. So I don't know what happened to that child to this day, but I did my part and reported it. So at least I have that off my conscience, if that makes sense. But it was pretty scary, and I noticed a lot of signs. This child in particular, the mom was a single mom. She had 5 little boys, all under the age of like 6. And I know every boy, all of her children had a different father. Mom came to daycare, dropping her kids off, smoking often, and I would always just see her like pulling kids by the arms to the van. And I know that I saw many scratches and bruises on her son, so I reported to my boss.
Good for you. That's hard.
It's scary because you never know what's going to happen.
Savannah, what do you think is the most important thing we can do to prevent child abuse?
To prevent child abuse? It's hard to prevent something that you're not directly related to, if that makes sense. As professionals working with children, I think the best thing that we can do is probably spread awareness of, like, I guess, like, maybe, I think a support system needs to be there for adults as well. because you don't want a parent to get to the point to where they feel like they have to take their anger out on their child, if that makes any sense. And I don't know like how we could implement something like that, but just more support for people around us. If you notice a family member who's struggling, be there for them to talk to offer to watch their kids for a night or something. Just don't let them get to that point to where they're in that situation, because it's sad, but it happens, and the best thing we can do is really just support the adults around it too.
Cool. So basically, it's an awareness thing and a support system rather than a prevention.
Yeah, because there's not much you can really do to prevent someone else and someone else's family from doing something behind closed doors, if that makes sense.
Right. Cool.
All right, any other questions?
I think you did awesome.
Thanks. I think we're ready to move on then.
Awesome. Okay, well, Hannah's been writing us on the group chat or whatever, and she says she said, hey, my computer keeps resetting for no apparent reason and won't connect, trying to get back on. It's not allowing me to get back on. And I said, it's okay, you have it, keep trying. And she said, if I can't connect, I'll just send what I have or what I was going to say to you guys. Is that all right? And I said, we understand. So she's really trying, but her computer, I don't know if it's her computer or her internet, but she's struggling. So you guys might have to just watch for her, I guess her essay or her debate or persuasive essay. But anyways, I guess that means I'll go next. Is that okay? So are you guys all ready with your grading assessment or whatever it is?
Yeah.
You're ready?
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
ready.
just going to do them all afterwards.
Oh, you're awesome, Rich.
I'm taking notes.
Okay, well then I will start in a second. Hold on. Okay. Okay, drugs are all around us, yet some of the most strong drugs go unseen and fly under the radar. Gambling is like a drug. It is addictive and it can destroy your life, but on a higher note, it can destroy your family. Gambling came about a long time ago just to pass the time away, and it was the opportunity to get together with lots of your friends and to have a good time. It has slowly matured into what we know now, which, as for many people, it hasn't changed, yet for others it has engulfed their lives. There's been a study shown, it's called NCPG, and they're a group that gets together and they do statistics, and it says the annual cost associated with gambling, crime, addiction, and bankruptcy is $17 billion. Approximately 76% of problem gamblers are likely to have a major depressive disorder, according to the NCPG. And there was an Australian study found that 1 in 5 suicidal patients had a gambling problem. 2 to 3% of Americans meet the criteria for problem gambling. That's around 6 million adults and about 500,000 teens. Gambling raises the taxes because of that, the government has not yet intercepted. Yet, the gamblers eventually rely on welfare or unemployment benefits. So in the end, it kind of, I guess, it doesn't really make a complete amount of sense, but the government is still allowing it because it is something good that they look at. I guess it's helping our country in a way. Britain is the only country in the world that allows children of any age to play slot machines with jackpots, and so they're the only ones that has no age at all, and they it doesn't really matter to them, which is funny because it has completely taken over almost every country. Gambling age is different there's this gambling age of 18 in every age, or in every state it's different. A casino actually may raise the age, but it may never decrease under 18 years old. In order to help the family, one of the biggest factors of divorce is actually financial, and in gambling it is a huge financial problem because a lot of people get obsessed, they get addicted, and they aren't able to leap over that because it's a drug. It's something that has been around for a long time, and people, they get hooked super fast. Friendships may end because of unpaid debts, so people get into debt and they become anxious, they get depressed, and all of these are stress on the family. Families are sometimes unable to get out of that. It impacts children and absorbs time away from the family, and so they don't know what it's like to be with mommy and daddy because mommy and daddy are always at the casino. A lot of times they use alcohol and drugs, and so they come home and they're completely, drunk, and they become abusive, and in a lot of ways, kind of like what Savannah was saying, it becomes completely harmful to the child because they don't have a family, they don't have parents that really care. Imagine yourself enjoying a good meal at Peter Piper Pizza, and you're there with your family, and you're having a good time. Next thing you know, your child is getting mad over a game. They continue to lose, and their entire atmosphere just changes. Their whole persona, everything changes. That is exactly what happens to gamblers. We have become, we've accepted gambling at a young age, and it's something that we don't even realize that we're doing. Things like Peter Piper Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese and stuff like that introduces gambling to kids at a very young age, and in that, it becomes a problem when they're older. We also see symptoms from children as, these children that suffer with parents who have a problem gambling experience lots of change. It is always constant. There isn't much room for comfort because they may just have to get up and move again. A lot of gamblers, they continue to, the chances aren't really in their favor. There's a high chance of loss and a low chance of win. As they lose, they are taking that money away from their families, and they are putting them into a stressful situation, which could cause them to have to move and take their children out of their comfort zones and being in schools and with their friends.
I'm pretty sure you've seen this already.
In a lot of ways, gamblers, when they try to get help, they gear towards their family. They want help from their family. And in order to restore their family, there must be trust. Trust is very hard to gain, and in order for them to gain it, there must be a lot of identifying of what the situation is and what needs to be done and taken care of. In a lot of ways, the government has broken its promise about gambling being a small component to our government and to our society. It is something huge that has kind of taken over. Therefore, in order for us to see a change in this tragedy, we must fight for the family. It is something much bigger than a single person. It is a family unit that loves and cares for us. The government doesn't choose to get too involved because they are seeing great benefits come from gambling. The government should help the public release themselves from this ever so tempting drug, yet they are the ones tempting us to partake. In order for the government to take action, they would first have to see that there truly is an issue here. Yes, they have regulated it by age, yet it hasn't made enough of a difference in order to protect the family. There needs to be protection, and if the government understood that, I know they would intervene and protect the very thing that allows us happiness in our lives. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I just got here, so no.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I know you've been nervous about this.
I have. Could you tell I was shaking a little bit, but that's okay.
No, you did a good job. My question is, what about the owners of the casinos? Is there regulations that need to be placed on the business owner in the free enterprise country that we live in? Is it a bad business to be involved with. Does that make sense, my question?
Yeah. Well, they make a lot of money. Honestly, the rate of win is a lot lower than the rate of loss. So the owners make a lot of money, but a lot of times the owners don't even participate. They Would you ask the question again? I forgot my train of thought.
No, I was curious if you felt like we needed to do something about the casino owners
Well, I
to
completely.
have less and less casinos.
Well, I think a lot. So the owners have everything to say in the age and when you can start gambling, and so a lot of times there are casinos that you have to be 25 years old, and I feel like that puts a damper a little bit on the amount of gambling that's going on because there aren't as many people because the age is higher. But yet, I feel like unless the government gets involved, there isn't much that I guess owners could really do unless they up their age. Is that your question?
Yeah, thank you. You answered it very well.
Thanks.
All right. So are we moving on?
Okay, sure.
Can I go just because my internet is finally up?
Yeah.
And if it crashes again, you at least got my say. Okay. So, just so a little bit of background, I'm talking about mental abuse. And the reason why I chose mental abuse is because my mom, she grew up in a home where she was mentally, verbally, and physically abused. Every day she would get told that she was an effing disappointment to my grandmother. Every day she would get told that she was no good. Every day she would get told that she was not going to go anywhere in life. She had to earn her mother's love. And the thing that sucks about, not sucks, why did I say sucks? That came out wrong. The thing about mental abuse is there's no bruises, there's no cuts, there's no broken bones. There's only words. But those words last a lifetime. Verbal and mental abuse victims don't have the physical appearances that those physical abuse victims have, but the abuse is still present. 35% of women in a relationship or either married or common law have been emotionally abused. In 2007, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services found 63,829. I'm going to say that number again so it sinks in. 63,829 children are victims of mental abuse. When is mental abuse considered emotional cruelty and opposed to being a busy parent or just a bit distracted? 2 years ago, in Britain, they tried to establish a fine line. If a child claims emotional cruelty under the child neglect legislation, their parents could face up to 10 years in prison. The updated law states that emotional abuse is deliberately ignoring a child or depriving them of love over a prolonged period. Parents were concerned about their rights to be a parent, and rightfully so. The law in Britain is actually called the Cinderella Law because it's so easy for children to manipulate the system and put their parents in jail. With parents, they're concerned is if they send their adolescent to the room to cool down, could it come back in a lawsuit showing that they're an unfit parent? What if a 3-year-old decides is denying playing time with mom and dad due to a deadline they have to meet at work? Will they not feel and they don't feel that, and they will not feel the love for their parents for them? My worry is with the parents. What they're trying to do is just be good parents. So finding that fine line is hard. There are causes, there are cases that need to be taken. Sorry, guys. Okay. There are cases where children need to be taken out of the home due to abuse. But where do we draw the line? How can we protect the entire family unit, yet still protecting the individual? I personally believe that if we protect the family, we'll be also protecting the parents and the attention that they need, and the attention that children need. For example, if a adolescent goes to cool down, the parents can come back and try and talk about the situation at hand, or taking breaks from their work to go and just interact with their child. We plan to give our children attention as often as we can. Children need to know that we would be willing to work with them as their parents before claiming abuse. And children need to understand too that we aren't perfect. Therefore, I believe if parents and children are able to create a healthier relationship, government services such as child protective services will be able to easily identify abuse, and we would be able to create strong relationships in the family unit. And I totally butchered that because I've been trying to read along with it, and I get nervous during talks, so sorry.
I'm the same way, don't worry.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, any questions? Because I'm sure there's a lot that didn't make sense there.
I've got a question. I'll start.
Okay, go.
With your concern for the parents, what protections are out there for parents to allow them to be the parent rather than having to always be worried that their son or daughter is going to try and take advantage of the system and in a revenge sort of way for whatever spite that they may have done because they couldn't watch another television program or whatever, send their parents to the slammer?
You know, it's interesting. When I was trying to research it, there wasn't a lot coming up, which makes me really concerned because what it looks like when I was reading was it's based on each child protective supervisor who comes in and analyzes the situation to see if this is a child who is taking advantage of the system or trying to get back at a parent rather than actual abuse.
So there is actually some observations that take place?
That's what it seemed like it to be. They would go into the home, they would go and interview the child, they would go and interview the parents, and interview people who knew them. But that's about it. It's basically on one person's decision on how it turns out until they go to court and get it all finalized and everything. But it's one person who goes in and observes it and sees what there's, and that brings that to court. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Any other questions? Or not?
How did it affect your mom? You were talking about her at the beginning.
My mom, she was very much, it's still a hard thing for her. My grandma and my mom do not have a good relationship.
That's so sad.
They do not talk. And it's interesting, though, because my grandma, she will send me all the stuff that she doesn't want to deal with my mom, to me. She drags me into it, into her little battle with it. Like just about 2 months ago, or not 2 months ago, about 4 months ago now, she sent us a box with all of our old family pictures that my mom sent. And it was like of my little brothers when they were 2 and all that good jazz. And she just said, I don't want any more, give it back to your mom. Kind of deal. And she played it off at first being very nice, and then talking to my grandpa about it, it was not good. And so it's interesting, my mom and her don't have a good relationship, but after all that she went through, she has decided to be a better parent. She's like, I don't want my kids to go through that. And so she's done so much where she would just have to go and cool off in the corner. She wouldn't ever she never felt the need to hit us. And if she did, she would or if she felt like she was going to say something that was not appropriate, she would leave the room just to make sure she wouldn't say something she would regret. And she was also really good about saying sorry.
That's good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hannah, nice job. You did awesome.
Thank you.
Hey, Hannah, could you write in the chat what your email is so we could all put it on our peer review?
Can I ask why we're putting the peer review? Is one person doing a peer review?
We all are.
Okay. So are we doing on it? I'm so confused. Are we doing it on each other? Can we explain that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're doing it on each other. We do it on each person. And so it's online. You could even do it later. It doesn't matter. But some of us are doing it now. And you have to write the person's name in the email, and then you grade them. You review them. It's really easy.
And is it on the little Dropbox thing?
She sent it to us. It's under, what's it called? It's under the peer review forms.
If you go to the beginning of week 9, the letter that she sends out, just on the in iLearn 3.0, as you click on the class homepage or whatever, and then she just starts discussing this week and what we're doing, and there's a link to the peer review. And it's a little 5-question survey with some comments abilities there.
Okay. And then we're just putting it in the chat right now, correct?
We're just putting, our emails in the chat.
Okay. I put it on both chats, I think.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
All right, who's next?
Let me see. Who's next? We have Mandy. You ready, Mandy?
I don't think she's ready.
Okay.
Okay, Mandy says, I've been trying to get my mic to work, and it won't. So, sorry, can't go. Mandy, if you can hear this, if you want to, you can if you have it written down, email it to one of us, and we can read it too.
If you could include Stephanie or Adam on that, so we can include it in the chat to Angelina, that'd be great. Or anybody else who might have one that they're going to read off.
Oh, that would be good too, yes. Just send it to me. I sent my email in the chat, so if you want to just email me, I'll pull up my email now so I can see it.
While we're doing that, should we have someone else go so we're not, or is that bad?
Yeah.
Bad idea?
No, that's fine.
Courtney, would you like to go?
Yeah, I'll go. Is everyone ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I did mine on the influence or the impact that divorce has on children. So one of my friends told me her experience when her parents divorced when she was 14 years old. When her parents were together, it was often a battlefield of insults and harsh words being exchanged. With her and her siblings placed in the middle, like a prize to be won. She did not feel comfortable at her father's house, who tried too hard to make them prefer him. She did not feel comfortable at her mother's house because it felt empty without the entire family around to fill its spaces. The worst part about it was that both her parents later admitted to her that they probably could have worked through their issues, but they decided it would be easier to end their marriage. Was it easier though? Was it easier to go through the endless fights and disagreements? Was it easier for the children who had watched their family crumble to the ground? Was it easier for the children who no longer had a comfortable place to call their home? Since the no-fault divorce law first became legal in 1969, the value of family has meant less to society. A no-fault divorce refers to a type of divorce in which the spouse that is filing for divorce does not have to prove any fault on the part of the other spouse. All a spouse has to do is give a reason that the state honors for the divorce. This law is focused on the individual and usually is not on the family. It is common for a couple to, in times of trial or disagreement, to decide it would be best to end the marriage completely without working hard to maintain the solid family relationship that children need to give them the consistency and love they deserve. Many view divorce as a personal thing between a husband and wife. Some think that children are flexible and will adjust to the divorce with time. While it is true that children do adjust, they have lost their home. In a longitudinal study by Judith S. Wallerstein, Growing Up in the Divorced Family, has shown through a depth interview some of the challenges of children, including coping with parents, changing relationships, financial challenges, having little say in the divorce proceedings, needs of children overlooked when parents build their new lives, reversal of rules with the children filling the need of the parents, divided loyalties to parents, damaged relationships with parents, continued feelings of insecurity and worry about how things may change, having to grow up more quickly. They have to be more independent, divided time between parents and becoming property, less frequent playtime, and less extracurricular activities. And then there's a quote by Wallerstein. It says, "The central finding of our study is that in adulthood, the experience of having been through parental divorce as a child impacts detrimentally on the capacity to love and be loved within a lasting, committed relationship." So if divorce can have such an impact on children, what should troubled couples do? Maybe they think there are a few options. In an article called "The Case of Marriage They Don't Want You to Hear" by author Maggie Gallagher, offers options. Divorce seems to be an easy way out of a difficult relationship, but not many people who have gone through a divorce would consider it easy. An option that is available in opposition of no-fault divorce would be to try and work things out. What if there was no law requiring couples beginning to file for divorce to attend a certain amount of hours of marriage counseling? There is a possibility that many of these issues a couple face can be resolved, and the man and women can learn how to work things together to find happiness in their relationship once more and maintain a family unity. As individuals, we can advocate for the family by strengthening our families and doing everything in our power to keep the families intact. We can also share with others our beliefs on the family and how important it is. With thousands of families falling apart every year, this is not an issue that can't just be ignored. Children deserve more in their life than increased risk for damaged relationships and unstable living situations. For many cases, divorce does not need to be the answer, and families can be saved from so much emotional damage The effort is well worth it to bring children back to a home. Is there any questions?
What
I got a
made you-
question.
Okay, yeah.
Where did I write it? So last week we talked about the big picture, and sometimes when we're focusing on something specific, we miss the big picture or the more important aspect of, or the larger threat to the family. So in your mind, and from the research you've been able to do for your speech here, what is the big picture that we are missing when we're focused on, or when couples are focused on divorce? What is it, the most important thing that we're overlooking when we focus too much on divorce?
I think for one, it's the family, and then also like the children and how divorce affects them and in their childhood and how they grow up and become an adult, and how their divorce might affect their adulthood, or does that make sense?
Does.
Okay. Okay, Mandy said, Courtney, what are you going to do personally in your life to help this issue? I think in my life, I think the most important thing for me is just to keep my family strong and my marriage strong, so I could be a good example to my children, and so that when they grow up, they can have a good marriage and a good family, a good strong family. Along with that is just sharing with others my beliefs on the family and how important it is.
Awesome.
Anything else?
What's your email?
I'll write it down. Okay.
Because I might just not be getting it.
I think it's in there.
It's on the
If I
top of
put
the
it-
chat.
Yeah, there it is. How do you say your last name? Halbleib?
Hallbleib.
Halbleib?
Yeah.
That's cool. I like it.
Thanks.
Okay, and then I also, I got Mandy's speech.
You got it?
I do.
You ready?
Uno momento, por favor.
Claro que sí.
Okay. 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 So if I totally butcher this, I am so sorry. Just imagine cute little Mandy is reading this and not me.
Perfect.
Moral relativism is a belief that what you think is morally right may not be morally right for someone else. That's okay. It is a thought that your choice does not affect anyone else. So your choices do not affect anyone around you. Then why does it matter if you choose life or what someone else chooses with their life? This way of thinking is taking a toll on families of the world today. We now have to help our children understand why some people make decisions that we don't agree with, but we're supposed to be okay with it. We now have to protect our children from the views and teachings that tear families apart. Through moral relativism, families are not as strong. Parents think that if they want a divorce, and it won't affect their children. People think that the way they live should always be accepted as normal. It's very, very difficult to find studies that to show moral relativism is prevalent today. So I've chosen to show studies of choices people make that, and also claim that these choices have no effect on them or on the people around them. Here are a few research points that prove moral relativism is prevalent today. And extramarital involvement, and MEI, is a catalyst for approximately 50% of couples. Every 2 hours, 3 people are killed in alcohol-related highway crashes. Numbers of abortions per year is approximately 32 million. All of these demographics show that there are high numbers for actions that damage society and our communities and our families. Many of these instances happen when a person gives no thought to their actions, and their actions can affect anyone else. The Greek historian, I don't know how to say that, Herodotus, I'm sorry, I don't know, observed that each society regards their own belief system and way of doing things is better than all others. Even before Christ, we can see that there is a pattern for humans to think what they believe is right. The premier policy in our country that encourages the defense of values lies within the original government document itself. Okay. The United States Constitution's First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of press or of people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redresses of grievance. Here's the proof as Americans. We have the right to speak out what we believe, while others have the right to speak as they believe. Those who support morality in all areas of life have an obligation to defend them. It is also our obligation to prevent the natural consequences of the actions. Everyone, even those who think their actions carry no consequences. You smoke, you get cancer. Society doesn't pay for your treatment. You work that off even if it takes the rest of your life. That is the consequence of your behavior. There should be consequences for your behavior that hurt those around you. Moral relativism is a mindset that is more individual/selfish focused rather than family/other focused. The First Amendment gives us freedom for people to live the way they believe, but it does not prevent the consequences of that life or others from speaking out against it. The amendment also gives parents the opportunity to teach their children what they believe. The biggest problem right now with moral relativism is the hate speech directed towards those who defend morality. While everyone has the right to defend, it also would be helpful if the government's leaders across all levels of government would lead by way of example in their support of morality and their encouragement of respect in dialogue rather than accusations and controversies. The increase of moral relativism is tearing up the family and making it harder than ever for parents to teach children a set of moral character without having them be confused if they should believe in what they've been taught or if they should accept what the world is teaching them. Okay. What can we do to help solve this problem of moral relativism? The belief that none of our actions affect anyone else. Or the problems facing families who still believe in morality. I propose that on an individual level, we can motivate and inspire parents to teach their children by providing opportunities for them to get involved in local support groups such as religious, community, etc. That encourages setting higher standards, encourage schools to emphasize character-building activities and real consequences for disrespect and selfish behavior, encourage service on all fronts, and push for legislation that will enact consequences, not rewards for behavior, welfare abuse, mandatory service in school hours. Citizens' involvement in all levels within the home, within the community, and within the government would go a long way in motivating society back as a whole towards a moral mindset. But ultimately, it won't change unless those who believe in morality and in all aspects of life are willing to get involved and speak out. Okay. Questions I'll try to answer. I have one question for Mandy, actually. So when it comes to like morality and what values would you want to teach? Because I know we can't teach the value of faith in a school. So what values would you be thinking of?
I'm going to add on to that, and in what way would you teach them?
Ooh, that's a good one, too. So now we just wait.
Every eye is riveted on the chat.
I know, right?
Waiting to hear. Mandy is calmly.
Oh, Adam
hurriedly.
says, when it comes to morality, what values would you want to teach? We can't teach our faith in school. Oh, he's just, okay. He's just telling what we wrote. Okay.
I think we only have one person left, right? Is it Rich? Am I correct or no?
I think so.
Okay.
Unless Adam's doing something for Angelina.
Also, Mandy replied, well, I think that it's most important that we teach each person, and that is teaching what they believe. But I think mostly not really faith, but just respect and acceptance for those who believe differently. It doesn't have to be faith, just really respect that builds their character. Also, Mandy, can you send your email?
Mandy, I have a question for you. How does the cultural belief that the consequences can so easily be taken care of? I mean, we live in this world where it doesn't matter what I eat, I'm going to go have a surgery later on and I'm going to look skinny anyway. Or, I mean, just all of this the consequences are taken away from us so quickly and so readily because of the culture that we live in. How do you feel that that plays an effect on the moral relativism of a lot of these decisions? I think that the effect it plays is that is a part of the problem. I mean, when people know that they can have a quick fix, they are not really scared to make any bad choices. So it's largely associated with the problem, I think. That does answer my question. Thank you.
Mandy, you did awesome. Hannah, thank you for talking for her.
You're very welcome.
Rich, I think it's your turn. You ready, boy?
Let's do this thing.
Okay. It's your cue. You're on.
All right. The anticipation had reached its peak. I had heard all kinds of amazing reviews of this new movie that would just come out. It was going to be the greatest moneymaker of its time. The lines had been incredible just to get a ticket. The revenues from the movie were at the top of the list for many days and even weeks. We had debated on allowing ourselves to watch it, knowing that some of the content may hit a little close to home. My wife and I decided we actually did want to see it for a variety of different reasons, so we watched and waited in eager anticipation for our night out to be able to share this experience together. It would even be historical, and we could gain a better appreciation of the freedoms we enjoyed as American citizens. Finally, the night arrived. We got our popcorn treats, and we entered the theater. Throughout the movie, our hearts raced. We felt the power and the raw emotion of the reality of the events. The drama and the special effects kept us riveted. The intensity of the music added to the emotional experience of the entire evening. For just over 3 hours, we sat in awe of the story, the impact of the events, and the sacrifices of so many. We would never be the same. We've all had similar experiences with some type of form of media in our lives. The amount and type of media we allow into our homes has an impact that we may not understand in the moment that we allow it in. The emotions it stirs, the feelings it brings, and long-lasting effects that it has on us, on our minds, truly becomes a part of who we are. The content of the media we view has an impact on us for many, many years. Whether this effect is aggressive or violent behavior, obesity, or other poor health due to our lack of physical inactivity, maybe it's the effect of our social incompetence due to the inability to talk to somebody because we're so used to playing a video game, or just plainly a waste of our precious time as we get sucked into one more round, one more game, just one more episode or program. Once we allow it into our homes and into our minds, we cannot escape the results of the content of the media all around us. For example, research of a variety of types of violent media showed unequivocal evidence that media violence increases the likelihood of aggressive behavior in both immediate and long-term contexts. Throughout this study, we gained more and more evidence of the negative effects that media can have on our children. The violence portrayed in TV, movies, video games, and even the music we listen to really does have a tendency to increase aggressive behavior in children. Yet we see the aggressive behavior must be desirable because the cause is not going away. More and more media is created with violence a part of it. thus leading to more and more aggressive behavior in our non-virtual world. Whether it is immediate or later in life manifestation, the aggressive behavior is there. And unfortunately, we can't just hit reset and start over again. In another study, we learned about the causes of childhood obesity. In this study, there was an intervention group that had statistically significant relative decreases in body mass index and decrease in children's reported viewing of television and meals eaten in front of the television. As shown in this study, the reduction of the television time improved the health of the participants. As they watched less television, they were subjected to less numbers of commercials. Perhaps they were less likely to just vegetate on the couch with a bag of chips. They may have been more apt to participate in outdoor recreational activities or exercise of some kind. We can see that the negative effects of media on the health of our youth is very hazardous. Well, what about the video game industry? Game makers build games with intention to lure you back and keep you playing. We see some first-hand experiences in this study. We have parents playing the game of turn it off or put it down or put it on pause so we can have dinner. Or maybe it's just, let's just spend an evening all together in the same room, individually on our separate technological device. In any circumstance, we are found when there is more and more electronic usage in the home, the dynamics seem to change. Of course, this is going to happen when you're plugged in for nearly 40 hours a week, which happens to be the average number of television hours our youth are subjected to currently. 8 hours a day spent viewing some sort or some form of entertaining game. The shaping of the overall culture becomes a problem or a cause that we need to be watchful and mindful of. A couple of quotes from an author Postman. The problem is not that TV presents the masses with entertaining subject matter, but that TV presents all subject matter as entertaining. What is happening in America is that television is transforming all serious public business into junk. Thinking is not a performing act. Showing is. And so what can be shown rather than what can be thought becomes the stuff of our public consciousness. Television is not merely an entertainment medium. It is a philosophy of discourse, every bit as capable of altering a culture as the printing press. And I think we all can realize and understand how the printing press made its impact in the lives of the world. With these few examples, we can see that the need to monitor and or regulate the media all around us is one of supreme importance. Think of your own children as they sit and watch and watch and watch their lives away. The time we have is precious. It is a gift of extreme importance. How we choose to use our time is our return gift to ourselves, our families, our communities, and even our nation. We have 1,440 minutes each and every day, and how we use them becomes who we are. What can be done? Where do we start? How can we possibly make a difference with all of the various forms of media bidding for just a few of those 1,440 gifts that we have each and every day? Over the years, changes have not happened. So I don't think that the government is going to be the answer for us in this one. They're not going to make policies and laws that will make the difference we may want. Besides, do we really want them to decide what is going to be best for our own homes? In his 2013 State of the Union address, President Obama declared that 3 out of 10 children miss the opportunity to gain a quality preschool experience, and that the earlier the children begin to learn, the better off they're going to be long term. They will be more of a contributing citizen as their educational experience starts and then progresses in a positive way. If we contrast that statement that our nation's president made with this fact, that the average American child watches 5,000 hours of television before he or she ever sets foot in a school, about 16,000 hours by the time he graduates high school. These statements together allow us to understand that we are facing a very demanding and critical moral issue concerning the use of our time and the type of learning our children receive in the home before they even enter the educational system of this country. We have to be the ones to stand up for our own homes and make sure we monitor what we allow into our homes. We have to be educated parents, get involved in different programs and organizations that can help us know how to be a better parent.
I'm on my thing still, baby.
Some of those, there's a lot of those types of programs out there. One that I saw or found was thesuccessfulparent.com. In this website, and this is one of many, it just had a few short little lists of ideas that we as parents can use to make sure that we're doing our part in securing those precious 1,440 minutes that our children have and what we allow into their minds. So where do we go from here? What kind of a culture do we want to have in this country and in this, and more importantly, in our own homes? We have the moral obligation to, as parents, help our children to determine and define what it is that they use their time in doing. Do we allow or do we help them realize the amount of time they spend on Facebook or a video game? Do we have personal family electronic device contracts that allow those electronics to be put away at a specific hour of the day? Or we just only allow a certain amount of screen time each and every day? There's a bunch of different ideas that we as parents can accomplish and do. Ultimately, it is our obligation, ultimately it is our right, and ultimately it is our opportunity, each and every one of us, to make a difference in the lives of ourselves, our children, and therefore change the world as we help these kids know what they're doing with their time and how to be good, quality, contributing citizens in the lives and the world that they live in and the choices they make in the future. Thank you.
Nice job, Rick.
Yay!
You did awesome.
Thank you. I'll stick around for a few minutes if anybody have any questions.
Mandy has a question. It says, Rich, how do you personally deal with this issue with your own children?
That's a wonderful question. The issues that we have in our home with a variety of ages, and obviously, I mean, I've got a 2-year-old that knows how to get on a little tablet and play games. It is unbelievable at how electronic savvy the youth of today are. They could definitely teach me a few things and a lot of things. So we've set up different family rules. We talk about media a lot. We do things that may take us away from media, whether that's playing a game, going outside, working in the garden, whatever it may be. So there's a variety of things that we have done in our home. I'm currently actually working on a family electronic contract that as children receive a Facebook as they get old enough that Mom and I decide, okay, it's time that you can get on Facebook and have a Facebook account. That these rules and these we're addressing things early on rather than responding to what our kids find in the media that they interact with each and every day. So we're trying to do things proactively before it becomes a problem. And my kids all know that at any given time I can do a tech check and they put their electronic device down and it becomes mine for a few minutes if I want to look at it and see what it is they're doing on it. So, and there's no video games, there's no electronic devices in bedrooms. So that's just a few things that we do personally.
I like those ideas.
They were good.
Any other questions?
I think we're good. You did awesome, Rich.
Thank you.
So Adam was asking if we want to, if someone wants to read Angelina's or if we just want to read it on our own. Are we okay with just reading it on our own? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah, I'm getting tired. Sorry, guys. I feel really old, but is that okay? Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, nice job, guys. Woo, we finished!
Yay!
Yay! Okay.
I
Hey,
guess
guys,
we don't have to put a summary on this one, right?
No, I
No.
think we're good.
All
Okay,
right.
guys. We'll see
Brian,
you
you'll
later.
turn in the recording for us, and
Yep.
good luck everybody on the peer reviews.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.